So, Dr. Alta, let's talk about what the word stuck even means.
Yeah.
So, when we throw that word around, I feel stuck, I am stuck, I'm stuck in life, I'm stuck in this job. As a researcher, what do you want us to think about when we hear the word stuck or what it actually means or feels like?
Yeah, I think there are two kinds of stuck. There's the one kind where you say, I want to be at point Z and I'm in point A and I need to figure out the path from A to Z that's as short as possible.
Uh-huh.
And the destination is obvious, right? I've got a goal, there's something specific I need to reach. It might be a job related goal,
Right.
might be a relationship, whatever it is.
Might be like, I want to get my nursing degree, or it might be, I'm sick of being single. Like, so that's when you have a goal and you feel, though, a little overwhelmed. Like, why would you be stuck if you know what you want?
Because you haven't been able to get from A to even B, maybe on the way to Z. So that's the one. I think that often is easier to solve. There's the other kind of stuck that's just like blah.
Yes.
I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. Things just feel kind of dull and gray, and I don't know where I'm supposed. It might be your career, a relationship, a friendship. Life just feels like it's kind of been leached of all the things that make it really rich and interesting. And that's a very sort of diffuse kind of stuckness where it's not attached to one specific thing, and that's incredibly common. So those are very different. One is I can't complete this goal. The other is I don't even know which way to turn to create the next goal. And so they're a little bit different, but those both exist. And I'm going to talk about what I think best interventions are.
There are listeners to this podcast in 194 countries.
Mm-hmm.
And if I had to boil down the kind of universal sentiment on the looking for help or needing inspiration and guidance, the complaint of feeling a loss of direction is I think one of the biggest things that people struggle with.
I think that's right. It's an incredibly common response that I've had to this book and to talking about these issues, that the way life is structured for us today, there is a lot of emptiness. And a lot of what we spend our time doing does not build on the other moments we spend, so that we're building towards something that feels meaningful, that is substantial. And I think a lot of people feel that there's an emptiness to what we're doing a lot of the time.
So is that what we're basically saying if we say we're stuck, that we don't have anything meaningful going on?
I've been running this survey on thousands of people around the world, asking them exactly these questions. What does it mean to you to be stuck, and are you stuck? First thing I'll say is everyone says yes. I am stuck in at least one respect. And then they can articulate it very quickly. They can write to me in the response what they're stuck with and what's affecting them. A lot of them, it's very narrow. You know, I've been trying to learn this piece on the piano for the last 6 years and I can't do it, and it frustrates me every day. And then for other people, it's much broader. It's like my whole life is one big sticking point. Like I don't even know where I'm going. And each day goes by and I'm like, how is this day building on the day that came before? It's a sort of meaninglessness to life.
Yeah. Which is so overwhelming, which only makes you feel more lost. Are there particular areas in your research that come up over and over in people's lives where they tend to get stuck?
A lot of it is creativity based. So I think it's hard to be creative. You know, you're asking a lot of a human being when you say come up with something new or have a good idea. And we all assume that that's something we should be able to do. And our work often requires that of us. And so for a lot of people, it's in that domain. For a lot of other people, it's not work-based. It's about relationships. It's about being stuck in a situation where you have to deal with someone you don't want to deal with, or you don't know how to extract yourself from a situation. And then for other people, it's the broadest kind, which is exactly as we've described this. I don't even know why I'm stuck. I just know that I feel like things aren't the way they should be.
Dr. Alter, I take it that based on the research, this is something that you're going to experience over and over and over again during the course of being alive.
Yeah, a huge part of it is accepting the discomfort that comes from being stuck and recognizing that this is universal, that everyone is in this position at some point, often many points of their lives. There's this incredible research talking about how often these things come up for us, these major changes in our lives that make everyone feel stuck. Bruce Feiler has done some research looking at what he calls life quakes. Life quakes are these huge major life events that affect all of us, and we're almost always blindsided by them. And they're very often not things we want to happen in our lives.
Like what?
Like change in a marital status, a divorce, the death of a loved one, illnesses, things like that. They come up, they happen to us. And that they are universal. It's part of being a human being. Some of these are really good things, by the way, but they still force you to change what you're doing.
Like what's a good one?
A good one might be like a job promotion, or you move to a new town or a new state or a new country and you're excited about it. Maybe a marriage is a good one. Having a child could be obviously a huge positive, but also it brings complications and change, and you've got to figure those out. So you can be stuck by a good change too. So if your broad philosophy of life is there will be ups and downs and there will be times that are tough, then when those times happen, you don't spend time saying, why me? I can't believe this is happening. There's a whole lot of sort of rumination that goes on if you are surprised by the fact that you're in this position. But if broadly speaking, you recognize that this is what it means to be human, you're just a couple of steps ahead. So it liberates you to start acting and to start making the next steps you need to make to get through that part of life in that moment.
I love that. It does make me wonder though, Adam, the thing that I've noticed about people in my life or when I've been really stuck is that it becomes part of my identity.
Yeah.
And I argue to stay where I am. And so I would love to have you speak directly to somebody who may be really needing a breakthrough when it comes to relationships.
Yeah.
Or a breakthrough when it comes to their career or their health. And if you're in your own head and the echo chamber and you're like, but it's hard, but I've dated all these people, but all my bosses are jerks. And you kind of have that story, right?
Yeah.
How do you get started in terms of like to even just get over yourself and the way you're standing in your own way?
Yeah, there's this really interesting paradox that when you are stuck, the thing you most want is kind of freedom. I just want to move. I want to get unstuck.
Yes.
It turns out that constraining yourself and having very prescribed steps is really useful. So one process I use with people and with companies as well is a process called a friction audit. And a friction audit is a big part of the
friction
book.
Audit?
Friction audit.
What the heck is that?
A friction audit, when you audit, if you're an auditor and you go into the books of a company to audit the books, you're basically like saying, does this all make sense? Let me pour through each line of the books and make sure I understand it all. And a friction audit is an attempt to find the friction. So what is it that's slowing me down? What is it that's not making me move forward or that's stopping me from moving forward? There are 3 steps to a friction audit. The first one is to figure out where the friction is. And that takes a bit of doing sometimes. And even asking the question is a first very important step, because when you feel like you've just described, my bosses are jerks, things just aren't working for me, you're not being thoughtful about it. You just feel things.
Yes.
It feels bad. So the friction audit, basically the process says, figure out what the biggest sticking points are. They could be, every day there's a part of the day that I look forward to least, makes my life least happy. It's the biggest, downward force on my well-being. That's a friction point. Or I'm trying to get from A to Z in my career and I know that I can never get past C because C in that particular step is a major friction point that I can never get past. It might be a particular boss I have to deal with. It might be an aspect of my job that I can't kind of refine and improve, whatever it is. If you do that process of introspecting and finding the friction point, you are much better positioned to make forward motion because the next step is intervention. Is there a way that I can either weed out that friction point altogether or sand it down, smooth it down? And what that means is for a lot of people, it means spending a bit of time, energy, and sometimes money and saying, this thing is such a big problem for me, it's such a thorn that I need a way to eradicate it, to remove it. And I'm going to throw resources at this problem, whatever resources I have. And so it depends on the context. But if you intervene and you remove that friction point, then you're much better placed to move forward. And the third stage is confirmation, is just making sure that you've actually done a good job.
I can share a personal story. So I was crazy stuck, probably, 2019. Super stuck. And things were going fine. Like on the outside, my life looked great. Married, long time, kids. Like I finally had gotten to a point where we were making the money and it paid off our bills and, we can live our life. And I was happy in the work that I was doing.
Yeah.
But not. And I felt guilty that I felt stuck. Like I almost had this shame about the fact that I had a house, I had a marriage intact, I had my health, and yet I felt empty. And a dear friend of mine, Peter Sheehan, who I'm realizing just friction audited me, we were, I don't even remember where we were, but I was griping to him. And he's been a huge mentor and very close friend of mine. And he is a renowned business strategist. And he said, take out a piece of paper. And I said, okay, what the hell is this going to do? Because, of course, when you're stuck, you're kind of a jerk.
Yeah.
Because you're in your emotion, right? And you don't know how to get out of that stage one in your emotion. And he said, I want you to write down absolutely everything about your life that creates friction. That was his exact word. And so I was like, what do you mean by friction? And he said that you just feel all this resistance and negative emotion to. You resent it. You're annoyed by it. You're frustrated. It's hard. And so I took out this piece of paper at him, and it was like just vomiting on the page. I hate packing on a Sunday. I hate being away. I hate, and just the word hate. I hate how much I miss my kids when I'm traveling. I hate how much I'm working. I hate like it was just like, and the second that somebody gave me permission to write it down in that language, it just flooded out of me. It was as if the emotion of stuckness had a place to go.
Yeah.
And once it was on a piece of paper, he basically was like, everything on that list is now a project.
Yep.
You either need to remove it from your life and work, or you need to hire somebody or find somebody to do it, or you need to figure out how to do it without complaining about it. And that right there is the roadmap, Mel, because all those things that are causing friction are what are keeping you stuck, but you're not doing anything about it. And so then it became the next side of the page.
Yeah.
And you say, oh, these are things I can move. These are things I can't. So I got to change my attitude about it.
You accept it. You recognize there's not that much you can do, but you've put a label on it and you've said, you know what? Some things just suck, and packing on a Sunday is just how it is. I got to pack on a Sunday or whatever. That stuff is all just there, and it's in a box, and not everything in life is going to be wonderful, and I'm okay with that. I will say as well that when we think about how to improve life, you described a whole lot of positives. You had a lot of good things in your life as you were going through this process.
Yes.
We often think that the way to make life better is to do more good things. You know, throw in more fun stuff. I think there's some truth to that. More good things is only better. I think the real bang for your buck in life, if you want to make life better, is to take the lows, the friction points, the things that are hard and bad, and smooth them out or raise them up if you can. I think that's where we should spend our time and attention.
Why?
Because that's where, if you have a lot of good things, but you have a lot of things that are bad, that drag you down, they do a much worse job of dragging you down than the good things can do dragging you up. We are often as good as the worst stuff that's going on. And so if you feel like your life is a series of friction points, but you also on paper have all these other good things, the best thing you can do is not add more good things. It's to take your time and attention and deal with those friction points, and often your money and other resources that you have. So that's what I would counsel people to generally do, is focus on bringing the lows up a little bit rather than always focusing on the next flashy vacation, the next expensive thing that I'm going to buy. Those things will help a little bit, but they're never going to help as much as lifting up the lows so that they're not quite as low.
I'm ready to have a breakthrough.
I'm ready to help you have a breakthrough.
Why is this feeling that you haven't reached your full potential? You know, we kind of say we're stuck. Why is this so common?
The way life is structured for us today, there is a lot of emptiness. A lot of what we spend our time doing does not build on the other moments we spend, so that we're building towards something that feels meaningful, that is substantial.